Have you ever had a teacher or person in your life that you felt so connected to, that has given you so much wisdom, that has helped you to touch a part of you, inside of you, that you haven't even known existed before? And even so, you are not seeing that person or teacher that often, or maybe you haven't seen him or her for 10 years, like I have. I'll tell you in a moment. And then you meet them again, and it's like they have never left you. Like you have never left the teacher, and the teacher has never left you. And when you come back, even in person, you feel like, my God, he or she has always been with me. And then you're leaving, and you feel that person is not leaving you either. The essence of the person and what that person has helped to touch inside of you is still there, regardless if you're with this person in person or not. And this is how I felt when I met Amma. Also, Amma is a devotional name, a nickname, so to say. Her real name is Mata Amritanandamayi Devi, the hugging living saint. This is how I feel with Amma, and that's the story I want to share with you from my inner library today. It's from my second block of the inner library today, from an experience I had exactly 20 years ago, 2005, when I met Amma, Mata Amritanandamayi Devi, for the first time in my life. And this year, or last year, because it's 2026, and in November 2025, I met Amma again, and I realized, oh my God, it's been 20 years that I've known her, that she's been in my life, that I've seen her on and off. And instead of the relationship or connection diminishing, it has been growing, even so there has been a time I haven't seen her or even thought much about her for 10 years. So I invite you to stay. I share the experience, how I met Amma, how she been with me in my life, and maybe you can relate to that, either with Amma yourself or with any other important, either spiritual teacher, or could be your golf teacher or your dance teacher, or any really special person in your life, or it could be your wise aunt you only see really rarely, but each time you meet her, you have talks and conversations with her or him that are really touching you, and you really feel that person is with you wherever you're going. That can be a friend, that can be a guru, that can be a teacher, that could be an author. So I'm going to share with you today my experience, how I've written it down, and from one of my book excerpts, when I met Amma, and how amazed I am what I felt back then 20 years ago, and how it has developed in my life, this relationship with Amma. So this is from my inner library, excerpts of a yogic and lived life path. Gayatri's first meeting with Amma. I'm Gayatri, that's my spiritual name. And that was from San Ramon, California, November 2005, so 11 years ago almost. Gayatri would later return to this place many times, but this was her first encounter with Amma. Amma, as I said, it's just a cozy nickname for her. During a Devi Bhava evening in the November of 2005, at the San Ramon ashram in California. She hadn't planned to meet Amma then. It was one of those moments life arranged quietly, almost accidentally, especially when everything else seemed to be falling apart in her life in this moment. Before that evening, Gayatri had only heard of Amma in passing. Her Italian dark sister Elisa had met Amma years earlier in London, and Gayatri imagined an old Indian woman sitting in a small room, giving hugs to people who stood in line outside waiting to be cuddled. Since Gayatri wasn't particularly fond of being hugged by strangers, she probably wouldn't have gone out of her way to meet what she perceived as a newly emerging Indian saint. At that time, all she really knew was that Amma hugged people. But life intervened. That November of 2005, Gayatri was going through one of the hardest periods of her life, a deeply emotional breakup of her first marriage. It was a separation that had been a long time coming, yet the way it unfolded was, like many things in her life, dramatic, almost absurd in its timing. The breakup took place while Gayatri was moving between London and Vienna, while her husband at the time remained in Carmel, California. Originally, they had planned to meet in Switzerland in mid-November, where he was scheduled to teach. Instead, Gayatri flew earlier than planned back to the United States to move out of the house they had shared for 4 years before he returned from Europe. Exhausted, heartbroken, and still in motion, Gayatri asked her close friend Helene, a Dutch Ashtanga yogi, to pick her up from the airport in San Francisco. Helene agreed, but with a condition. She and her husband were already on their way that same day to Amma's San Ramon ashram for a special Devi Baba program. Gayatri was welcome to join them, but it would mean staying awake after nearly 24 hours of travel, followed by a long night and morning ahead. Without much hesitation, Gayatri said yes. In the midst of heartbreak, she took it as a strange kind of adventure, meeting this hugging Indian saint at the time when she could use some love, comfort, and encouragement more than ever. Her flight arrived late at San Francisco airport, and Helene and her husband were already waiting anxiously. They knew something Gayatri did not know yet: the traffic chaos that always surrounded Amma's events. They picked her up in their green van, a vehicle that served simultaneously as a car, a living room, and a bedroom. Inside lay a futon mattress, which could later become a place to collapse if one of them surrendered to exhaustion during the long Devi Baba night ahead. As if the late arrival weren't enough, they also struggled to find their way to the ashram. Directions became unclear. Tempers flared. Husband and wife began to argue. Gayatri watched the scene with quiet amusement. Her friends explained that this always happens when they were on their way to see Amma, that some obstacle or challenge inevitably appeared before, during, or after meeting Amma. Gayatri listened politely, without yet grasping how prophetic this observation would later become in her own life. Eventually, after unfolding roadmaps and navigating tensions, they wound their way through the hills and towards the ashram. As always, the stress about time and direction proved unnecessary. It felt as though Amma's guiding hand was already present, offering both protection and challenge at the same time. At last, the three found a parking spot high up the hill near the ashram. Jet-lagged and emotionally raw, Gayatri felt both drawn in and overwhelmed by the mass of people streaming in from all directions. She clung to her friends the way a child clings to her parents when visiting a fair for the first time. Everything felt like a spiritual funfair at that time. Night had fallen, tiny lights glowed everywhere. Indian sounding music poured from the enormous loudspeakers. Tents and cafes lined the path. Portable toilets stood ready for the thousands of bodies that would need relief during the long night ahead. The entire setting felt unreal, almost dreamlike. Somehow, the three of them were lucky enough to receive darshan tokens and secure places inside the huge meditation hall. There, the evening would begin with meditation, a ritual blessing, and the distribution of holy water before the mass hugging continued through the night and into the following morning. Just before entering the hall, vast and warmly lit, something memorable occurred. As Gayatri bent down to remove her shoes, her mobile phone was ringing. "Hi, are you back in California?" It was the voice of the outer reason, or perhaps better described as the catalyst for the breakup of her marriage. The conversation was brief. They arranged to see each other again in a few days. Then Gayatri was gently ushered into the hall and guided to sit down on the floor. In front of her lay a small piece of paper and a plastic lid of a dish that had not yet been filled. Despite the density of bodies and noise, Gayatri felt calm, quiet, like an innocent child about to experience something unknown. A video about Amma's life and her selfless humanitarian work began to play. A strange sensation arose, a mixture of cold and heat moving through her body at once, like a lightning bolt striking straight through the core. Tears filled her eyes, and she knew, God, I'm in the right place at the right time. This is a moment my soul has been waiting for a very, very long time. The full impact of that first Devi Baba night with Amma, her first meeting with Amma, would unfold only slowly in the years to come. So this was the beginning of a relationship beyond time and place for me. It was the beginning of a 20-year relationship with Amma. Sometimes really intense. Sometimes, as I said, I didn't see her at all. I could tell you so much about it. I traveled to India to be with her. I did retreats with her. I slept on floors. I took showers in the toilets. I was with thousands of people in India surrounding her, wiping Indian people's sweat off their brows so Amma could hug her. Was holding Indian people's bags so they could be with Amma. I saw Amma in London and Los Angeles. And I saw Amma alone with friends. And very especially 2019 with my husband, my two little boys at the time. And then there hit the pandemic and Amma wasn't allowed to travel anymore. And then this year, my husband said, listen, I got this email newsletter from Amma and she's coming back to Europe. She's coming actually in November to Munich. And I was like, I have to go. I don't know if Amma will travel. And so I met Amma again. And if you believe it or not, I asked a friend, Helene, who originally brought me to Amma. On a phone call, I said, I'm going to see Amma in Munich in November. You want to come? And she said, yes. She was surprised herself, but she said yes. And miraculously, we both met there. And she and I, we spent the most magical 3 days together and with Amma. And I can only say it was the most profound time I've ever had with Amma in all these 20 years. Knowing that she has always been with me, her essence, her guiding light. And even though her message is always the same, it has really hit home into my heart. And I felt her so intimately. It's hard to describe. It's like a presence in your heart and in your mind. It's a presence who knows who you deeply are, deep down inside of you, and only you know, and she knows, and nobody else. It's amazing, you know. All this time, and my relationship has changed a lot with her. I don't see her as this guru sitting up there that I have to follow. I used to give up my whole life for her. I left everything. I went to India to be with her. I did everything, and it's not that place anymore. I'm in the world, I'm married, I have 2 kids, I work. But seeing her just really brought me back into a place in my heart that she has unearthed again. And she reminded me so deeply of a message that is so easy to forget. Even as right now I'm also not going through such an easy time myself, personally. And having Amma with me all this time, and the essence she's reminding me of, helps me every single day. And it's the message of peace and love. It's the message of compassion. It's the message of mercy. It's the message of being compassionate with yourself and others, with your own and others' shortcomings, with mine and other people's humanity. Yeah, I've touched the core. I've seen, and yet I'm human. I'm human in a daily life, in relationships that are not always easy. But that core inside of me, and Amma again reminded me of the essence. And it's like an anchor now in my heart, grounding me to love and peace. And the word for this year for me is peacefulness. Peacefulness grounded in love. Peacefulness for me is like the field where love can be. But peacefulness without love would be like empty space without the flame. So love gives the warmth, and peacefulness gives the space. And I want just to share with you this, to remind you, first of all, of Amma's message. And second of all, if you have a person like this, Amma, a special friend, a special teacher, regardless if it's in yoga, meditation, Chinese medicine, Qigong, whatever. Maybe it's dancing, it's a cooking teacher, whatever. But someone that is touching a core inside of you. First of all, this person and what this person stands for in your life is never lost. And second of all, you might be surprised, even after years not seeing this person, how beautiful it is to meet this person or teacher again. So I invite you to integrate this amazing guidance of especially the power of spiritual teachers into your life, guiding you whether you see this person on a regular basis or not, remembering her message to you. And I wish for all of you to find this person. And this person could come in any form. It doesn't need to be a guru, it doesn't need to be Amma, it could be a simple person. But look out for that person, listen to that person, and let that person ignite a flame. Because any person who is a teacher is a guru. A guru means removal of darkness, letting you see the light within. Thank you very much. Namaste.